Aloha. Welcome to the Walking in Aloha, Let's Talk Story podcast. We're so glad to have you here. At Como Mai. Now here's our podcast host and award-winning author, Michelle.
Aloha, everyone, and welcome to the Walking in Aloha Let's Talk Story podcast, the podcast where we share real stories filled with faith journeys and powerful voices that remind us that we were created for a purpose, healing, and legacy. I'm your host, Michelle Rosa Kawano, speaker, author, creative coach, and today we are honored to welcome Emmanuela Obi, entrepreneur, transformational speaker, author, and founder of Living Without Borders International, LLC, with over 18 years of professional experience as a lawyer turned entrepreneur. Emmanuela empowers individuals to break limitations, build profitable businesses, and create lives of purpose, freedom, and impact. Her message is simple yet powerful. You do not have to remain where you started. That is so good. Manuela, thank you so much for coming on here with us today. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you, Michelle. And thanks for having me.
Beautiful. Can you take us back to a moment or a season that changed everything for you and led you into the work that you're doing today?
Sure. My journey in this work actually started a few years back, but something pushed it. It didn't start on the stage, right? Series of events led to the work I'm doing today. Series of events, but I'm going to just categorize the events into three categories. One was series of rejection. That is one. And then a quest for survival. And finally, a fresh start. So talking about a series of rejection, like you rightly said, I practiced as a lawyer. I've been about 18 years in the bar, called to the Nigerian bar precisely. So I remembered after my law school, I went for what we call a kind of internship program where you serve your state for like a year. So I served in one of the ministries in a particular state, and I gave it my best, despite the fact that I was heavily pregnant with my second child. I was a nursing mother then with my first child and pregnant with my second child. But I did my best to see that my work spoke for myself then, or spoke for itself. And then eventually I recommended for state award to be retained by that state as a legal officer in that state. And I was happy, but that was rejected because I've had to face discrimination. I said 3 levels of rejection. So the first rejection was discrimination based on my state of origin, even though I was from that state. Then the second rejection also came when I applied to serve my state again in a particular sector. I will call that road safety. And of course, when it was interview time, only for them to announce that they don't want to employ married women. So
wow.
I faced a second rejection based on my marital status. That's discrimination based on marriage. And then that was a second one. Of course, I didn't give up. I said, okay, I have interest in the maritime. Let me go study further, add some feathers to my cap by getting a postgraduate diploma in maritime, and then probably get a more far better job in the maritimes. And after I did that, then I was also pregnant again with my third child. No, that was with my fourth child. Yes. I was pregnant with my fourth child, I remember. And I was actually traveling on a speedboat almost like 4 to 5 days a week to and fro to attend lectures. Pregnant on a speedboat on the high sea, all quest to be better. And after everything, of course, There was also another announcement, the best students, best male, best female in each department will be given automatic employment in the any maritime sector. I was happy. I said, finally. Then after that, our what we call passing out parade, I went home to give birth, nursed my baby for 3 months. I didn't hear anything from the government or from the ministry. And I took my 3-month-old baby on a journey to the ministry at the state capitals, in the capital of Nigeria. That's my country. I'm from Nigeria, from Africa, Nigeria precisely, to find out why I haven't received my employment letter. And to cut the long story short, that offer didn't see the light of day. And all of that got me frustrated. That was my third rejection. And the reason is because that particular sector is being dominated by a particular people from a particular geographical location from my country. So if you are not from that geographical location, except you know somebody. So that was the third time of being rejected despite my effort to stand out in performance. So at that point, I'm like, I'm done. I can see that it's not for me to work. So I then started my chambers, Noella and Associate. That was my first on entrepreneurship, learning to be independent on my own, not depending on government or anybody to employ me. That was my first journey. But again, we all know if you're an entrepreneur, building that route is not an easy one with family of 5. By this time, my 5 children, my husband, so family of 7 to take care of. So I still needed something and the fulfillment wasn't there. So I said, first, I needed to enhance my finances, something to add to what I am doing. That was now quest for survival. So that led me to the multi-level marketing. And for many years, I was in multi-level marketing while still a lawyer. And of course, I came alive. Why? For the first time, I was able to mentor people. I was able to coach them. I was able to make them believe in themselves. I grew a large team. We grew. We qualified for a lot of company trips, cars, so many things. And I came alive. I saw that, wow, this is what I am called to do. So that journey started there. But again, life happens. So many things happened. Instability in multi-level marketing and so many other things. Then I had to drop, particularly instability, because many of those companies come down to my country. I was in Nigeria. And then they operate after a while, they are gone. All the team you have built, you start again from the scratch. So all of those experiences, I said I was done. So I quit network marketing, but something didn't leave me. That call within, that transformation I saw in the life of my team members while in it was what actually gave birth to what we are seeing today. So at that point, I said, lives were transformed. I really want to transform lives again. But though if I'm to start this time around, I want it to be at my own terms and not anyone's terms, something I know I can build, something I know I'm building a movement. I'm building a transformation for others. So that is what led to this journey. And then, of course, life happened again. 3 years ago, I moved down to the United States and I had to start again from the scratch. From zero, I started coming down here, the way of life, everything is different. And of course, I had to get a 9-to-5 job to survive, to pay my bills, and to continue whatever it is I am doing. So almost for the first 2 years, I wasn't doing much. I was just concentrating on go to work, come back, go to work, come back. But an event happened that actually pushed me into saying enough. It's time for this voice to be heard. It's time for people for you to make the impact you are called to make, for you to live a purposeful life. And today we have Living Without Borders, LLC, and it's been a wonderful journey.
That is so incredible. Like you said, life happens, but just hearing your story of all the things that could have stopped you that didn't, and so that perseverance is amazing in you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. With the podcast that we're on right now, I have the Aloha Always framework, and it is the affirmations and actions, leadership and love, overcoming obstacles, health and healing, and acute awareness. That is the one thing that ties all of my guests together. Before we start, I always like to ask, what got you to here? Because, like you said, life happens. But right now, we're going to start with the questions and affirmations and actions. So, the way that I came up with this framework was through my hard times. Like we said, life happens. And I was starting to write my book, and I know you have a few books of your own. I didn't know how to write a book, and I didn't want it to just be a rehash of all the bad things that happened in my life, right? You don't want to just put all of that on paper and be like, that's it. So I asked God and I said, Lord, if you need me to write this, you need me to share my testimony, then you need to help me because I don't know what to do. And he said, I gave you everything in Aloha. And that is the framework that we use. It's in my book. And I've shared it with people all over the world now, from Egypt to Saudi Arabia, Australia, Africa. And it's been amazing. So I want to start that right now. And so the first A is, like I said, affirmations and actions. You speak a lot about mindset and transformation. So, what are some of those limiting beliefs that you had to break? Like what daily affirmations did or actions help you to shift to the next level?
Thank you for that question. Talking about affirmations are powerful tools. It has helped to bring me this far. Okay. Particularly, number one, it wasn't easy for me to move as a lawyer. We know that is a noble profession. I know how many years I put in into to even become a lawyer in the first place. You have to spend 5 years in the university, 1 year in your law school. That's a total of 6 years. And then 1 year serving your country, that is 7 years. Then when you add that 7 years to my 18 years of practice, then you can imagine how many years. So it wasn't easy. So one of the limiting beliefs I have was that I have invested too much as a lawyer to just abandon all that, to say I want my voice. I want my voice to speak for me. I want my voice to be heard. I want to impact lives, you know. So that was a serious decision for me. And that held me back for a very long time. Oh, what would my friends say after spending how many years? You're supposed to be prouding yourself as a lawyer. You said you want to just end up, It wasn't easy. That was one of the limiting beliefs I had. So I had to deal with that. And through affirmations, I was able to come through. And then I also had a challenge about when I started I was about moving down to, even before I thought of moving down to the US, that's a very important one. After I lost, my story is a lot, but at a point in my life, I lost virtually, practically everything I've worked for. Practically everything. I went into depression. I was at the lowest state of my life, so to say. Lost business partners, lost friends, lost money, so many things. So at that point, affirmation was the saving grace that I had. Almost on a daily basis, not most, every day, early mornings, 4 o'clock, 5 a.m., I'm awake. I'll go up. Then there's a building we were building then. It was uncompleted as at that time. So I will go up there. In fact, I made an altar there. So every morning I go up there for meditation, and I will meditate. From meditating, I started encouraging myself. From there, affirmation words will come. I am God. I am a spiritual being. I am born to create. I am value. I have what it takes to change my life. I am power, I am supernatural. Yeah, as I'm just meditating, those words I'm receiving those words, they are coming. So after a few months, I started seeing transformation every morning. In fact, one of the days, at times, not just affirmations, songs will come. I will receive songs, I will receive affirmations. One of the days, and when I receive it like that, I'll record it. Recently, I was listening to one of the voices I recorded in those early morning. I heard a cock crowing, kokoroko. I was like, it was early hours of the morning. So back home, that is how you know it is morning, when you hear the cock crow. Early hour, since I came to the US, I haven't heard a cock crow. Oh yeah, it does. I used to rear layers in my house here. So in the morning, the male one will like kokoroko. So you hear it to tell you it was early hours. But that was actually when my miracle started. So with those affirmations, I now started telling myself, I'm going to start earning money in dollars. This is somebody in Africa. No plans to come to the US, no plans at all. But I started saying I'm going to earn money in dollars. I didn't know how. I didn't even know I was going to be in US by this time around, to tell you what affirmations have done for me. But to cut the long story short, it helped me transform my lives. During that period, I was able to receive about 66 affirmations I was saying to myself daily. I started penning them down. And of course, those affirmations have formed part of the book I am writing today. I am the declaration that changes everything. So in that book, it has metamorphosized into 112 affirmative declarations. But it was originally 66, received in those early mornings of meditation during my down period. And today we have them in 112, the declaration. So it changed my life. Before I knew it, I got a visa for the US. Things just started happening miraculously. Because not just about affirmation. When you say affirmation, you have to back it up with your belief. You have to also take action, because I needed to take action. I had to apply for visa. I had to do things. You don't just sit in one place, say affirmations, and then expect that it's going to perform wonders. So I was able to break that limiting belief, first of all, that of a lawyer, break the limiting belief that I can't rise from my ashes back to grace. And today, here I am. So it has done a lot.
That is incredible. I always say that, affirmations without actions is just really nice words.
Exactly.
Yes.
You're right.
You really truly need the action behind those affirmations, because just the same for me, coming from the domestic violence. You can say all the nice things, but if you just sit in that depressed state, if you just sit in the lost feeling like, oh, this is just hopeless, you're never going to get anywhere. You have to be able to move forward and use those affirmations in that way. So that is so incredible. I can't wait till your book is out and getting those 100+ affirmations, that would be incredible. The O and aloha is leadership and love, because I had to be able to lead myself out of that situation in order to be where I am today. And when I was in it, when I was stuck in the silence of domestic violence, I wasn't leading no one. I wasn't leading myself. I wasn't leading anyone. But I also had to realize you have to love yourself enough to lead yourself out. If you're not thinking about yourself and being like, you know what, I am worthy. I'm worthy of something else, because leadership truly begins within, right? How are you going to move forward if you're not even loving yourself enough to move forward? How are you going to help anyone else? So how has your journey from law into entrepreneurship shaped the way that you lead and how you balance leadership with heart?
Thank you. Leadership, I would say leadership is not about position.
Exactly.
Leadership is about transformation. And only a transformed mind that can transform others. So transformation begins with you. Transformation begins with me. If I'm going to transform others, like I said, leadership is all about transformation. It's not about position. It's not a title. So I have to, first of all, be transformed before I can transform others. You being transformed is self-love, like you rightly said. It's about self-love. You love yourself enough that you want to transform. And for you to transform, you have to be in the midst of people who have the same mindset with you. That is where networking comes in. You network with people. You go for events. You go for trainings. That way, you're able to meet people who have the same mindset with you. And all of you are able to transform one another. Because the Bible says that iron sharpeneth iron. So when you are in the midst of fellow leaders, you are able to lead. So I was able to first lead myself, dealing with my limiting beliefs, dealing with my Down syndrome, my depression, and so many other things, being able to come out from that and then leading. And then coming from the angle of my training as a lawyer, law is about logic. You think logically from the logic aspect of it. Leadership is about transformation. It's about soul. It's about you speaking to the soul, transforming the souls of people from their depressed state to their highest state to the best version of themselves. And leadership is not a sprinter. It's a relay race where you need to pour yourself into another and be able to hand over the baton for continuity. It's not for you to be seen, it's for you to help others see who they are. So combining my training as a lawyer and then the transformation I've been able to receive, I'm able to speak from the place of love, from the place of impact. That is why I was able to, rise up from that mindset of I'm a lawyer. I was trained as a lawyer because it was always about winning, winning, winning. You are practicing it because you want to win a case for your clients. You want to be in the records of those winning. But leadership is not about winning. Like I said, leadership is about soul talk. It's about impact. It's about affecting the next generation, both this generation and the next generation. It's about your work speaking for you after even you are gone. Through the books you have written, today we still talk about Miles Monroe, even though he's no more. There are great men we still talk about. Steve Jobs, they are no more. But because of them, the footprint they laid as leaders, we are able to remember them. So this is what has actually helped me to lead from the place of love and not logic.
That is so good. To lead. I mean, you were trained, like you said, as a lawyer, and you're like, no, that's just the logic part. But what we truly need in transformation is that heart, is that part where you're like, no, it's a soul. It's the soul, right? That's what you're saying. And it's like, that is so important to remember because people want to lead from the head, right? People want to lead from the head, and you're like, no.
One more thing I would want people to remember is that, sorry, I'm cutting you short, is that people don't even care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yes, exactly.
So to succeed as a leader, you must first care, and caring is about soul. So that's it.
Yeah. People have to have that empathy in order to lead other people, and when you can come from a place like you did, where you've seen the hardships, where you've seen those things that, could have stopped anyone. It could have stopped anyone, but you were like, no, there's more to life. There's more to what I need to do. And you kept going. Now you can lead from that place because you can actually say, I personally know how hard it is. And if I can do it, you can do it too. So that's why I love coaching. I love speaking with people because I can actually come from a place where I'm like, No, I understand. I know how hard it
Uh-huh.
is. And I know how it's possible to overcome those obstacles and move forward. And actually, the O in Aloha is overcoming those obstacles, overcoming obstacles. You help people break through limitations. And I love that. So many people put limitations on themselves. They put the limitations on themselves instead of
That's
saying,
right.
no, there is more, and I can bust through this. I can overcome those obstacles, get through those hurdles, and continue on. So, what is one major obstacle you faced in your journey? I know that you said that there's so many different things like the rejection and all of that. But what did overcoming it teach you about yourself?
Okay, thank you. Like I said, you rightly noted, I had many obstacles on my way, not one, not two, not three. But there is one of my mantra is failure is our ladder to success. And one of my most favorite quotes is success is climbing, or greatness is climbing the ladder success amidst many falls. In other words, you fall, you get up, you fall. So one of the major obstacles I had, especially, let me not talk prior to my coming down here. Let me say, just limit it to me being present in the US right now, was I come into a place, no system, no structure, no network. You are just starting your life from the scratch, forgetting everything that you know and coming into a totally strange environment. So to conquer that wasn't an easy one for me. Most importantly, and most especially, I also had this obstacle or like limitation as to my accent as an African. Coming into America, I discovered that they have a totally different accent. Not just accent, their English is actually so different from the Britain. We were colonized by Britain, so in Nigeria, we speak British English. But coming down here, I discovered that their English is a whole lot different from the Britain or the English-speaking people. So it was also an obstacle for me. I keep telling myself that I hate it when I talk and somebody's like, say what? They are trying to hear you a second time. Because your accent, you understand them perfectly, you hear them perfectly, but they don't understand you. Or they hear you, but So I had to first learn how to talk. On a normal day, I'm a fast speaker. But I had to learn how to slow down, take it one step at a time so that the other person has to understand me. I had to learn resilience. I had to adapt to the new environment I have seen myself and their way of doing things. I had to learn their culture. I had to understand the way they say certain things. There are a lot of things we take for granted back home. There are a lot of things we say jokingly. They don't joke here in this country. People take into account the kind of things you say, even though you're joking about it, they take it serious. So several times I have to remind myself, hey, this is America. This is not home. So you have to be careful so you don't run into problem with anybody, so that you are not misunderstood or somebody thinking that probably you're being insultive. Or naturally, we from Africans, we are loud. Yeah. We are loud, we are cheerful, we are loud. So at times we may just be talking with our cheerfulness and loud voice, and you think, oh, they are screaming, you think they are quarreling, but we are just always, we are hyperactive kind of a thing. So I had to learn all of that to mellow down, and I had to also fight that problem of accent, because actually it stopped me from stepping up the stage for a long while. I'm like, oh, where do I start from? Would they listen to me? Would they understand me? Will they do this? I told myself, enough. People need to hear your voice. People, you need to wake up from this limitation. You need to know that it's not about how you speak. The consolation I give myself is, after all, I'm educated. if somebody doesn't understand me because my accent is different from his or hers, then it's not my fault. If I can understand you, you should try your best to understand me as well. So I had to work on all of that, but also trying my best not to speak the American accent. Of course, I know I can never be able to speak it, but at least I try my best to be able to communicate. The ability to communicate, I think that is the watchword, not about talking, not about grammar, but about the ability to pass on that message that you have to. So I had to fight all those limiting beliefs, and here we are today.
That is incredible. I can say I was born here in Hawaii, and in Hawaii, we have what they call pidgin English, right? And when I went to the mainland, I was like, I thought I spoke fine the way that I talk, right? You're like,
Exactly.
I can understand you. I think you should be able to
I got
understand
to
me.
know that there are many, actually, I came to understand that there are many accents in America.
Yeah.
I came here to understand, even though they're all speaking English, but when I started listening, I started asking people, I said, no, when this person speaks, they say he's from the north. That's why he speaks that way. Some of them, I can't even understand them at all when they speak.
Yeah.
You know?
So it was so funny because people would tell me I have an accent and I didn't think I did.
Exactly. So the thing is, we all have accents.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, we all. I tell people, English is not my first language. It's not my language. If I can as far as speak English, I think I am intelligent. Because
Yeah.
if I ask them to speak, even if I teach them my own dialect from now till tomorrow, they won't be able to speak it. So give me that credit. Those were the consolations I was giving myself. I
Yeah.
gave those consolations to myself. And I tell myself, I'm learning to speak another man's language, not my language. And I think I'm doing pretty well. So if they are not okay, I think they should rather learn to speak my language and see how they're going to murder the entire language completely. So
Right. I
yeah.
travel the world and I realized that in America, and we don't have the multiple dialects, right? The multiple different, because sometimes people speak French, they speak their own language, they speak English, so there's always that multiple. And here, even in school, it's called an election. You can choose to learn another language, where in other countries it is required to learn another language, which is most times English. And I'm like, I think that is so much better for the person because you're able to communicate on different ends. We're thinking I was born and raised here in America. And I'm like, why do we think that our language is just that and that we only should learn that? I think that in school they should be able to have a required language to other
Right.
language to learn. Because like you said, I'm speaking English and if I'm trying to understand you, you should try to understand me. And not
Exactly.
have that as a limitation. It should be equal on both sides.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the H in Aloha is health and healing. Healing is part of the journey. I know because coming from domestic violence, coming from that area. So sorry, the garage door is opening. Half the studio is the garage. And so my husband sometimes forgets that I'm on a podcast, and I told him, and he's like, now he's going to close the doors coming down. So,
It's beautiful. It makes the whole thing natural. We are not
yeah,
acting. It's natural.
I tell people all the time that this is real life. It is real. But anyway, that was just that. And anyway, as I was saying, coming from the domestic violence, I had so much inside of myself that held me back because I was working through that healing and the fear that was still in me. Like I would literally come into the garage with the car, close the garage down before opening my door because I never knew if he was going to be there. right? And I still had that fear. That's something that I had to overcome. All of those things, people don't realize that healing is part of the journey. When you find yourself like, this is part of the past, but you're getting through it, you're working through it, and that is just how it is. If you choose not to work through those things, that's when it becomes a problem, right? So, what role has inner healing played in your growth mentally, emotionally, or spiritually?
Thank you. Of course, a lot. Remember, I told you that a point came in my life where I lost everything. Depression is real. I was actually very depressed. Why? At a point, I left my legal practice to focus on the team building and what I was doing. I gave it all because the transformation I saw really energized me. So I gave it my all. And then when it collapsed, when the companies collapsed and everything, and I lost everything, that was another thing altogether. Honestly, I'm not kidding, for more than 2 years. In fact, some days I lock up myself in the room. I wouldn't step out. I was so down. I was so broken. I was so depressed that thank God for my family. Thank God for my husband. He will you can't continue like this. You can't continue like this. You have to. Then when you look back, the people you were mentoring, of course, you are the leader. So when I fell and they looked for another stuff and move on, they didn't lose as much as I lost. So they just moved on. And while I was in my depression, crying and wailing and throwing tantrums and all you can think of, they were far ahead of me. That became another challenge. How can the people you mentored, the people that knew nothing, you brought them this far, now they are far above you and you are just... So that alone was enough to keep me down. But like I said, when I started healing through affirmations, okay? I started healing through affirmations and I started healing from inside. And I started telling myself, I started remembering the good old days. The days I will mount on stages and I will speak and people are transformed. The day somebody will walk up to me and said, you said something like this, that word was for me. So I started remembering those days and I told myself, if you did it then, you can do it again. It's time you rise up. You can't remain like this. Then I remembered the lives that were transformed. And then I thought of how many people that are languishing in their Down syndrome, their depression, because I have refused to rise up from where I am. So I told myself a lot of lives depended on me getting up. I can't remain in this dungeon. I need to get up from this dungeon because lives were waiting for me to be touched. People are waiting for my messages to heal them from their brokenness. A few days ago, somebody told me I shared one of your videos and the lady thanked me for sharing because that's exactly what she was passing through. And I told myself, if I had remained in my depression, will somebody give me this testimony? So I had to heal gradually. Healing started taking place. It came from the affirmations. And then I started healing from inside. And I discovered that everything I needed to succeed was from the inside and nothing more. Every other thing is noise. Once you can identify with your inner self, I think that is where the healing started. And then, like I will always say, iron sharpeneth iron. Be in the midst of people. Like one of my saying, I said, surround yourself with people who will fill your cup until your cup runs over. So you must be in the right place at the right time with the right people. Who are your circle of friends? Look for those that lift you up. Be in a place where your spirit is constantly lifted up. So I had to learn to network, paid for programs, went for events. I started connecting with people. So the people I never knew, the connections I never had, today I have a family. I've gone to different events, transformational events, paid with my money, and When you hear that, you add it to what you have already, the healing started. So gradually, I was able to heal from depression, heal from limiting beliefs, heal financially, all round healing. I told you when I was doing those affirmations, then I was doing it in an uncompleted building. That building was abandoned for 6 good years because for 6 years I was stagnant. Yes, I was stagnant. My family was stagnant. In fact, at a point, my children were being sent home for not paying their tuition. It was that bad. In fact, crying became my second consolation. But today, as we speak, that same uncompleted building then is today a mansion. So, I mean, so many things that once you learn to heal from within, healing starts from within. Once you learn to heal from within, the next is to surround yourself with people who will fill your cup until your cup runs over.
That is so good, and you're right, because proximity is power. You bring yourself around the people that can, like you said, fill your cup. How many times do we find ourselves, or, like you're around someone and they just drain you, and you're like, no. So to be okay with walking away, okay with moving forward, because you cannot stay where you're just getting drained. That is not healthy for you. And how are you supposed to help anyone else? I believe that God gave us, like the passion and the power to make changes in the world. And if we don't move forward with that and we're stuck in, like, I was in a depressive state also, and it was so bad that I had to take medication, and I never thought that I would be in that place. But, people need to realize, like, if you are in that place, depression is real. It is real. And that is something that we need to normalize and talk about and be like, you know what? I understand. Not hide from it, because God cannot heal what you hide, right?
Exactly. Starts from healing, starts from inner awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Once you become aware, you open up. You
Yeah.
come out from that backwardness, from that stagnation, because it is stagnation. You stop playing small because you know that greatness lies within you.
Right. And, just for you to say awareness, that is perfect, because the last A in Aloha is acute awareness. And that is something that I had to walk through, because, like you said, it is within that awareness that you can actually transform. Awareness creates transformation. And so
Exactly.
I know that for me, if I wasn't acutely aware of what was happening in me, what was happening, like, I would have just stayed stuck. I would have just stayed stuck. But getting around the right people, asking for help, being in a community, trusting God to send you the people that will help you. And
Exactly.
it was amazing that I actually walked into a doctor's office that I never had a part of at all, but I knew I had to change doctors. I didn't have a primary care physician. And so I was asking around, and my sister was like, "Oh, there's this place my friend talked about. Maybe you can go there." And I was like, "Okay." And I didn't know anything, but sometimes God is leading you from other people. And so when I went there, that was the beginning of all of that healing, coming out of the domestic violence. If I didn't go to that doctor, I don't know where I'd be, because he recognized the fact that I was in a domestic violence situation. He called it out. And the people closest to me, you know, because when the guy that I was with, I always say that he was a really good narcissist, because he made everyone believe that he was just so fantastic. But that I didn't know. I didn't know how that worked. But as I studied, as I learned, as I grew, I was like, they do have those things, they do. It is not me. It is not anyone. They are actually that way. They will create an environment where people believe the lie, and you're the one who's looking like you're crazy.
Exactly.
And so I was like, oh my goodness. So having to heal from that and being aware of that and learning, now know that I praise God for him walking through everything with me and giving me this framework, because as I wrote it down, these are the things that I walk through to get from there to where I am now. I'm like, that is so God. That is so God that he can do this and he can say, I gave you everything in Aloha. And I'm like, amazing,
Wow.
Yeah. So was there a defining moment where you realized your calling and fully stepped into this purpose that you're doing right now, the purpose that God called you into?
Yes, of course. There was a defining moment. Back then, like I will always say, I'll always refer back to my affirmation period, because that was the moment of awareness when I realized that I wasn't just meant to survive. I had greatness in me. I had to have a meeting with myself and tell myself, enough of crying over spilled milk. It's time to rise up. It's time, because everything was just in a disarray. Abandoned projects, houses, children's school fees, tuition, so many things. And I'm like, are you going to remain here for everything to just fall apart? No. That was the first awakening. And that was what gave rise to my first 66 affirmations. And that transformed. But again, I had my transformation in phases, my awareness in phases. When I then moved down, that led me to moving into the US, because I also realized that the purpose I am called for is not just for my community, it's a global calling that people all over the globe need to hear this, they need this transformation. And when I also came into the US and saw the way things are going, I told myself, oh, in fact, it's as if I was particularly born ordained, and sent just for the people in the US, because a lot of people are hurting, a lot are under depression. Even in my workplace, every little time I have, I try to reach out. The reaching out could be as little as a hug. You hear somebody say, Ella gives a good hug. They look forward to the hug. You find out that people are even dying to see somebody, they are yearning for one to give them that passionate hug. And then by the time you do that, somebody's like, you don't know what you've just done. You don't know what you've done to me. That is as if that something just happened. I said, yeah, I'll just pat them at the back. So that was the first one. Then coming down here in the US, I started a 9 to 5. And with all the bills that are shouting, raising their heads, screaming here and there, I was so into my 9 to 5 that I forgot my purpose for the second time, because I needed to pay bills. But again, something happened. A time come when I had an injury in my workplace. For a whole week, I didn't go to work. That was another awakening for me. If I didn't go to work for 1 week, it means I wasn't earning a paycheck for 1 week. And then I asked myself, what are you doing here? Is this what you're called to do? You were just supposed to do this as something to just keep you going while building on the main thing. Now you got carried away by so many things that you forgot your calling. It's time you go back. This is just teaching you what people are passing through, so you know that the earlier you stand up and take up the mantle of leadership, the mantle of authority that have been put in you, the calling and purpose of God in your life, the earlier you pick it up, the better for you. Right on my sick bed, I was crying like a baby, telling God, give me a second chance. Help me. How am I going to speak to the world? How am I going to change lives if I'm lying on this bed? Because I couldn't walk. I was in so much pain that I could not walk. I couldn't walk, as in my back, my leg, as if my leg was detached from my body. For 3 days, I kept on crying. I became scared. I'm like, am I ever going to be able to speak again if I can't walk? But God had mercy on me. I tell you, gradually, every of that pain disappeared, gradually. And I said, never again will I joke with this, because anytime I'm joking with it, I am joking with God's calling in my life. I am joking with the lives of people, and people may even die that probably my voice would have been the medicine they were looking for that will bring them out of whatever they were passing through. But because I was too carried away in my own thing, that I wasn't living my purpose, this person had to go. I said, that alone, it was enough to wake me up, because I can't live with the guilt of knowing that just one word, just a hug, just a listening ear, just a shoulder to lean on would have just been enough that one person needed to make that shift. So that awakening, that was a time of awakening for me, and I had to step up and stop playing small. I took up the mantle of leadership, started hosting my monthly events. I host it every month to just share whatever I have to share, and trust God that even if it is one person that get transformed in the process, that would have been a great achievement, because the Bible says where you have 100 sheep and one is lost, you have to leave the 99 to go look for the one. So I keep telling myself, whatever I'm sharing is not for everybody, but it's just for that one soul that needed to hear it at that point in time. And for me, that has been the pull to keep doing the work that I'm doing. You are muted.
I am muted. There was
Yeah.
the truck was outside and I was like, I couldn't hear. I was like, if I can hear this, then you can hear this. So
Funny enough,
was like,
I wasn't hearing it, funny enough.
yeah. So then that's why I muted. But thank you for letting me know that I was not even being heard. But what I was saying was that for you, like all of that, you have now turned your passion into profit. And that's what you have right now, right? And so let's dive deeper into that message, because all of the things that you went through, and we are created on purpose for a purpose. And sometimes, like you said, we get so busy. We get so busy with life. We get so busy with our 9 to 5 that we forget what we were truly created for. And I talk about people need to express their voice. And when I say voice, I know that God gave each of us a voice. And sometimes it's just not audible, it is different things, the talents that He gives us, right? So I just love the fact that you have this right now to share with the world. So turning passion into profit. What does that actually look like for someone starting from zero? Because, like you said, you had to start from scratch so many times, but you did it. And now you can share that with the world.
Thank you. Oh, turning passion into profit. That is my signature talk, is my signature book, is my everything, because for many years, I know I was called to speak, to coach, to mentor and everything. I had that awareness, but one of the greatest challenge I had was putting it together, packaging it, structure. So I suffered for many years, especially because before the COVID, I was doing that already, but doing it on a one-on-one and on a normal physical meetings. But with the coming of COVID, everything went online. So I had to upgrade myself to also taking my business online. So for many years, I was suffering on knowing the exact way to go about it. I didn't know. I bought many courses, attended many events, did many programs. All of them were telling me the what, but not the how, right? So from my experience and from the things I went through, the moment I was able to, with all my wealth of experiences put together, I was able to find answers. I told myself, never again will I let no one wallow in darkness. That was what led to Passion to Profit. My work is all about passion discovery. Discover your passion. What are you called to do? Develop your passion and then monetize it. So in discovery, developing and monetizing, what are you called to do as a person? Who is your message for? That thing you are called to do, who is it for? You need to identify who are your audience. And when you have identified your audience, we talk about structure. How do you package it, right? Because for me, I suffered that for many years. I didn't know how to package it. Even when I have bought many courses that promise to show me the how, but they keep telling me the what. I know the what, but how? So you talk about structure, and then from structure, you talk about monetization. That is where visibility comes in. Where will you be found? Where are you found? How do you position yourself for you to be seen? So that is just on a simplicity. That is what passion is all about. You are able to identify what your passion is. You are able to gradually develop it. Rome was not built in a day. Rome was not the problem is that people want overnight success. This is a process. It's a step-by-step process. When you have identified it, the next thing is you develop it. And in development, learning is one thing you keep doing till the day you die. So you don't say, oh, I've developed this skill, therefore I'm good. No, because technology keep evolving. So you keep yourself abreast with the new technologies within. So you develop it in that field, in that angle, then you package it for people to be able to read about it, know about it, do whatever it is they want to do with it, right? So on a non-shell, that is just what is passion to profit. And most times in identifying it, let me just give us a clue. Since we are online, let somebody have something to take. Identifying your passion is not a rocket science. I always look at that identity in terms of three main things. Number one, what are the experiences you have had in life? Look through your experiences, your pain, your struggles, what you have been through, passed through that you don't want some other person to pass through. For me, I passed through a pain of having to keep applying for a job and keep facing rejection. And I told myself I need to build myself up. I don't want to be answerable to no one. I want to become a self-made entrepreneur and be an entrepreneur. Those were the things that pushed me. That was one. So what are your pain points that you don't want? Then for my pain points that even led me into this passion to profit, I've mentioned it and let me mention it again. For years, I didn't know how to package. I know I have identified what it is, but I didn't know how to package it. I didn't know in terms of visibility, in terms of packaging. I didn't know all of that. And it took me years to discover. I made payments, I attended classes, I wasn't able to. So when I discovered that, I said, some other person is also going through this. So let down my pain. Let me put up a book that someone can go through. I have a book in that Passion to Profit. I have book 1, I have book 2 on it, and then I have a 1-month master class on it as well, where by the time you're done, you are able to actually be online by yourself doing your business. So your pain point, number 1, your pain point, that's your experiences. Number 2, the skills. It could be skills you acquired as a result of the job you're doing. There are certain skills because of the nature of the work you do. Some other person who is doing that work may not even know those skills. You can develop your passion from those skills. So passion comes from your pain point. It comes from your skills. It comes from your experiences in life. It's not far-fetched. It's right there within you. You just need to sit back and... So that's why even in my Passion to Profit book, I have series, as I teach you, there are series of questions that will help you narrow down and actually identify your passion. Because another problem, some of us are multi-talented. And when you are multi-talented, it becomes a problem of choice. You are bound to face the problem of choice. You don't know which one to choose. But with the first book on Passion to Profit, you are able to see all your different talents. You are able to know which will serve you now, which one is for later, which one is just, this one is good, but it's just for hobby. Let me just do it as something I love doing, not for monetization. So that is what this Passion to Profit in a nutshell is all about.
That is incredible. And I can see so many people, needing that, because how many times we think that what we do, our experiences, the talents that we have is nothing, kind of like, that's just what I do. And they make small of those things, but actually God gave you that. God gave you that. So you need to be aware that this is a gift. This is a gift that God gave you. And that is where, like you said, that is where the monetization comes from, because you're doing something that you either already came through, like you said, the pain points, the things that you've already experienced. So it comes more, I don't want to say easy, because things don't come easy a lot of times, but
nothing good comes so easy.
yes, exactly.
Easy it comes, but the development aspect and building doesn't come easy.
Exactly. Yeah. And you said it already. Rome wasn't built in a day, So there is things to work through, things to overcome. And, to do that is where this passion to profit will come from. Overcoming fear and starting anyway. People are so afraid to even start that they're stuck, right? Because they're so afraid. What would you say to someone who is waiting for the perfect time?
The perfect time is now. It's as simple as that. There is nothing like a perfect time. The perfect time is just so now. Because the problem, most of us have had that challenge too. So when I talk from a place of experience. I kept telling myself, I need the, and when you hear them saying perfect time, some of the excuses you hear are things like, I'm a nursing mother, my children are still little, I'm on my 9 to 5, I don't have time to do this right now. Maybe I have to wait till I retire. So many, I'm not in good shape, in good health condition. I don't even know what to say to people. People will not listen to me. So many. So when we sum up all of this together, we now tie it under perfect time. But the truth is that we are actually scared.
Yes.
Yeah, the fear is just a thing. So we are like, I need to go and have more knowledge, study more, acquire more certificates, more certification, more this. And I will always tell people, perfection is an illusion. Perfection is vague. There's nothing like perfection. Perfect time, perfect skill, perfect, nothing like perfection. I tell people that practice makes progress, not practice. Back in the days, we were told that practice makes perfect. That is a fallacy. That is a false saying. Practice makes progress. Progress, not perfect. So the perfect time is right now as you're listening to us speak. Stop procrastinating. Stop waiting. Stop delaying. Start right now. Start unsure. Start unclear. Start messy. Build the mess. Man, grow that beautiful flower from all the rubbish, the garbage and everything. Make your mistakes and learn from it. Don't wait to be perfect. Even me speaking to you now, I don't have the answer to it all. I am not perfect, but every day I am seeing progress. So the perfect time is now.
That is incredible. I always say that your time is now. So many people make the excuses of waiting, and the waiting takes up your time. Every moment is precious, and that is what you need to work on, is just the time is now. Stop waiting, stop making excuses. I have a brain aneurysm right now, and it's like people go, "Oh, you're doing this and you're doing that and you have this." I'm like, you know, What? It's not going to stop me. And I said, like, I'm not going to let any disability stop me from the calling that God has on my life.
Disability is a thing of the mind.
Right, right. If that holds you back, then you need to work through that, because it is in your mind that you're holding yourself back. You've gone through a lot. I've gone through a lot. And there's people out there who are so stuck. And I'm so glad that you're doing what you're doing, because it takes that to help people out of that. That's what we need, right? We need someone to hold out that helping hand and be like, I got you and I can help you. Living without borders. What does that mean in a practical, everyday sense?
Living without borders in its simplicity, simple stuff, no limitations,
Yeah.
mental limitations, financial limitations, emotional limitations, accent limitations, whatever limitation we tie ourselves with. Because the truth is, these are bondages we've put ourselves into. And guess what? Nobody's going to let us out of that prison. We are the ones that is going to let ourselves out of that prison. So when we say living without borders, is building yourself to be the best version of yourself. I tell people, you are not in competition with anybody, but you are in competition with yourself. Yourself and yourself alone. Working every day to be the best version of who you were yesterday. Okay? Just like we're talking about time. You don't have tomorrow. Tomorrow is not guaranteed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yesterday is gone. Honestly, you don't even have the next minute. All you have is now. So do whatever you can do every now, live for the now, your best self, your best everything. Live and rise above financial limitations, emotional limitations, spiritual limitations. So that is why I do the work I do. It's more of spiritual than physical. I don't just help build businesses. I help them believe that they can actually build it. And you are not late, never too late. Anytime you wake up is your morning season. So right now is your morning season. Rise above those limitations, financial, emotional, psychological, spiritual, whatever the limitation is. You have the giant lying inside of you. Free the giant inside of you from the prison you have put it, so that your best form of self can rise up and shine.
I love that. Free the giant that's inside of you. We hold ourselves back sometimes, and those things, I mean, there's a lot of people who are stuck. And like I said, it's so good that you're doing the work that you do. Some of the work that you have right now is some powerful books you've written. The Termites Effect, From Passion to Profit, both book 1 and 2, and I am, is that the one that's coming up? Or do you have that one out already?
Part of it is already, I've done a teaching on about 30, the first 30. Yeah, it is. It is already.
So good, so good. For someone new to your work, where should they start and why?
Okay. My starting point for everyone will always be the Passion to Profit.
Good.
Book 1 and 2. From Passion to Profit, then they can move on to I Am Declaration that changes everything, and finally to the Termite Effect. The reason for Passion to Profit, I already explained it before. That is the foundation of everything. You want to, as a beginner, that is where you need to begin, because you need to begin by identifying yourself, identifying your passion, and narrowing it down in the midst of all the experiences, the skills, the pain points, your story. Which of them do you need to narrow down and focus on to build as a passion? So that is the foundation of everything. Passion to Profit, Book 1, which deals with identifying your passion, developing your passion, and monetizing your passion. Then the Book 2 deals specifically on structure. on how you package it and put it out there for you to make money from it. It deals with all the tools you need, your website, how to build your website by yourself, how to design your flyers by yourself, how to do your email marketing list, how to your social media, your visibility, everything, how to connect your website to your payment platform, and everything that has to do with you starting and running your business from the scratch. I mean, whether you don't need to be tech savvy to be able to eat. I love simplicity. So everything is in its simple state, that reading through it, the tools are listed, and then directions on how to use them and guidance on. Then, of course, if you need the one-on-one coaching on those things, the coaching covers the entire book 1 and book 2, where I hold your hand now and we walk together. Then from there, you move on to I am, the declaration that changes everything. It changed my life. While you're building your business, there may be obstacles on the way. There may be some days you don't feel like doing nothing. There may be, life happens. It is those declarations that will help you believe in yourself, remain focused. Like, my declaration is not just an ordinary declaration. For instance, I wish I came. Sorry, 1 minute. Let me see if I have. This won't even give me what I'm looking for. If I talk about number 1, I am God, it tells you what it means, describes what it means for you to see yourself as God, and is backed up with some quotes and some Bible portion too that supports that particular declaration. Like when you say, I am God, the Bible says, for ye are little gods. And then you are made in the image of God. So when you go through that, you're like, yeah, I am God. I am made in his image. So I can actually make things happen if only I believe it. If only, then it's going to also go deeper to tell you what you, and then deal with your limiting belief relating to that particular affirmation, and then help you with a call to action on what to do in order. So the book is so loaded, or that in fact is I've not seen a thing like that. It's so loaded, and you have them 112. So when you are done, then you can move on to termite effects. That is a 25 success code or success principles, that little things we overlook in business, that if we actually pay attention to them, it's going to help your business grow. We have principles like the principle of timing. There is time for everything. And then principle of attraction, which says that you need to be able to attract the kind of people you need to yourself, to your business, to whatever it is. And it has a Bible, of course, quotation that supports it, where the 3 wise men saw the star. The star was able to lead them to Jesus, right? So what are you seeing? What are you doing? What in your business can attract people to your business? We have principles of value. What value is your business satisfying? Your passion, what value, what aspect of life what value does it have to offer? So there are a lot of them. Principle of discipline, consistency, resistance. I mean, there are 25 of them. So that would be the next, the last but not the least amongst the 4 books. Yeah.
So good. So powerful. So
I think, this is a copy of the termite effects.
Okay, yeah.
The other 2 is in ebooks only. The Passion 1 and 2 is in ebook. I don't have a hard copy for it. It's in ebook, but this is in a hard copy. This actually happened to be my first book. It's in hard copy right now. It's in Audible. Is in all the formats you can think of. So other ones are still in e-copy. The e-copy is available for sale anyways, but they are not yet in hard copy. So this is a copy of Termite Effects, Unlocking 25 Success Principles for Personal and Professional Growth by Emmanuela Emmanuel. And if you go through table of content to see things like attraction, I mentioned it, timing, principle of value, principle of comfort zone. So many people remain in their comfort zone that they are not ready to step up. They are just okay. They are so okay with the known. They don't want to move from the known to the unknown. So the principle teaches you how you can come out from your comfort zone and begin to try things. Fragility, pride, creativity in whatever you're doing. Learn to be creative, innovate. Principle of positioning. Where is your business found? Is it found where other businesses of like mind are? Or are you just doing your thing without caring? Principle of duration, patience, customer care, people that say yes to your program, say yes to your offer. How do you treat them? How do you care for them? Are you just interested in their money? Oh, give me the money, put it in your bag. You don't care whether there was a transformation. You don't care if there is customer satisfaction. You are just okay because they bought from you. No. So these are little things we overlook that actually helps. Principle of no assumptions. You want to do something, you want to talk to somebody, you want to post that post, you are assuming, people don't care. People will not even read it. They may not say yes to it. Why the assumption? This principle says no assumption. Whatever you're laid in your heart to do, go ahead and do it and stop assuming. Before it is laid in your heart, God knows somebody needs it before he laid it in your heart to do.
Yes, that is so good. Yes, God knows before he even put it in your heart to do. That is such a good thing to say because his ways are higher than our ways. And that's one thing that we need to continue to follow. So good. And, I always love to end our podcast in this way because there's so many people out there. They're listening right now and they feel stuck or limited or unsure. What is the one truth you want them to hold on to today?
The one truth I just want you to hold on to is you are not stuck. You are not late. Now is the time. Start unsure. Start unclear. Start messy, but start.
Yeah, that's what I always say. Give God your messy yeses because you don't know what he's going to do with it,
Exactly.
That is so, so good. Thank you so much for all of this. This was such a powerful podcast. I know so many people will be able to gain a lot from what we just did right now and from what you've said. So good. Thank you. So how can people connect with you? What is your connection for anyone who wants to be continuously blessed by you?
Okay. Let me say the number one would be you can reach out to me through mail at lwbinternational.org. So when you send a mail and let me know it's through the podcast, then from the mail, I can give you either my calendar for clarity, one-on-one talk or whatever. But at least with that, we're able to communicate. That's number one. I said mail at lwbinternational.org. That's .org. Secondly, you can reach me through my Facebook, my LinkedIn, YouTube, all there. Emanuela Obi, search for me. But on YouTube, you see Living Without Borders channel. So, and I post, of course, I send out my message almost on a weekly basis, whatever God lays in my heart to say to the beautiful people of the earth that he has created in this beautiful earth. I make sure I pass on that message. So I don't receive a wipe by him.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to beat my for not doing what he has commanded to. But most importantly, I think the mail will be the best place. Mail, or if you want to take part, enjoy our monthly event that comes up once in a while. No, once in a month, once every month. You can also search for that in LWB International Systeme-Limitless. And
Perfect.
you go on there, you'll be able to fill the form, and then we have your email. We can put you on the know anytime an event is coming on.
That is so good. I will make sure to put all of those links in the show notes. And at the end of the podcast, I always have a screen where I put all of that information on, and it's at the very end. And so they'll be able to take all of that down. So I'll make sure that is attached. So thank you again. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you for
sharing your
having me.
story.
Thank you for letting me.
Yes, so good, so good. Your wisdom, your heart, just everything. So, Ohana family, if this episode blessed you, make sure to share it with someone who needs this message because this message is so, so powerful. And like we said, it's in that connection. It's in that connection that we help other people. We cannot keep all of this for ourselves. It's not going to do anything good for the world. We need to start sharing it out there. So, once again, thank you for being with us. And until
Thank you
next
for having
time.
me.
You're welcome.
Thank you. It was really a beautiful time. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you. In fact, I don't know, you are doing a great job. You are doing a great job. I'm sure that in all of the aloha, coming from the affirmation to leadership to overcoming obstacles to health and healing and finally to awakening, there must be one thing somebody is taking home, and that is the purpose for which we are called. Thank you for having me on this.
You're welcome. So, like I said, Ohana, thank you again for joining us here on the Walking in Aloha Let's Talk Story podcast. And until next time, hui ho, and God's blessings always.
Blessings.
Thank you for joining us here on the Walking in Aloha Let's Talk Story podcast. Before leaving, please hit that subscribe button. God's blessings always and ahui ho.